Okay, that we know. Now, when he said it was first district was 10 points. That means because in the Vaisali there's a place that the Buddha used to live for a long time. And then they were monks. There were 2 monks actually, they started to collect money. In those days, they don't have money, but they use a coin like the silver coin and the gold coin, right? Or something, anything is made of silver or made of the gold. And they use that one in order to exchange something to build the temple. Now, during the Buddha's time, the monk's rule is you cannot hold any gold and silver. A monk are not supposed to have any possession, including the gold and the silver. And these 2 monks actually, they collect these things and they've been sold by some conservative, you could say the conservative party. And the conservative was not very happy with that and say that you actually breached the rule of the Buddhism. And they say they didn't breach the rule because the Buddha never mentioned that we cannot collect the money for the temple, for, something like that. That's why they have this debate council. And because of the incident, they start to discover that actually those monks, for the conservative thinking that they were kind of like a bogus monk, right? They were not just not following, not just because holding the gold and silver, but they also other things they didn't follow, like the 10 points. And then we're going to read what are they later. So and then like that. So they think they need to be excommunicate them, because they will be corrupt the Buddhism. Okay? But I mean but if you are interested, you definitely find this. There are a lot of very funny stories. But the funny part actually, to me, looks like then they need to approach one senior monk, and this group of monks knew that they are going to approach a senior monk. So, and he become very crucial, because if he say yes, it'll be fine. If he say no, it'll be problem, like that, So, and this happens even now. This human is like that, funny, okay? This human. So you could see that after Buddha passed away, that happened too. So that's why when many things happen, I think it's no surprise because in the old days, the same thing. So that's one they went to, and the monk knew that the so-called conservative group wanted to meet that. I think his name is Purana, if I'm not forgetting. Wanted to meet that monk, and they need to travel like 2 days to reach there, something like that. At least for a day. In those days, you need to walk. And they thought, we should go to meet him first. So the problem was solved, that you are the first to go to talk about, we are, kind of like, you make up the story, something like that, that you'll be fine. Because it's kind of matter interpretation, how you understand. Can I carry the gold? I didn't carry the gold for my own pleasure. I carried gold for the temple, right? Anyway, so they went there. Unfortunately, this so-called liberal party, unfortunately, they went there, and that monk just left to other place. It's not like nowadays you could call. And he just left to other place. And those conservative monk, of course, they got the news also. This so-called liberal monk left to consult the so-called very powerful monk who can make the final decision. So, and they were really worried, but luckily then they knew actually it didn't happen, and then they knew where the monk left to. He went to other temple already, other place. So they were successful to meet that monk in other place. Okay. So the conviction is later on is the so-called authority, so-called the orthodox, or you could say the conservative, win the argument. So not that they will not expel them, because usually just mention the text already. Expel them, they didn't offend those 5 things. They offended some other thing. But they will ask them to correct this. But actually, this looks like they didn't later on, even though maybe on that kind of council meet up, they may agree that we want to correct them, but actually they didn't want to practice it. That's how started to lead. You could say because of conduct reason. It's not a doctrinal reason, it's just a conduct reason on that have a different agree about how you should live the monkhood. So, and they started to, actually somehow they split the Sangha. And I want to say some additional information. This need not just happen even after the Buddha passed away. If you read at the sutta, we just mentioned in one of the basket sutta, you will find there were several times that they also tried to pursue the Buddha, thinking that they were not holding a good life with a very minor detail also. And the Buddha was very angry. No, I won't say Buddha angry. The Buddha was not satisfied because he tried to stop them to think that. And Buddha tried to think that you should use your loving kindness. You should use your compassion to them, not use thinking that they were doing something wrong. So, and then anyway, that still keep on with that host monk, because they host the Buddha to live there. And then the Buddha actually ran away secretly. Yeah, it's a very famous story, but nobody died to tell the lay people. But we know, and the monk learned this thing, know. It's a very famous story. But actually, the story will be elaborated a lot, even in story later on, that anyone saw the Buddha left, and they will start to argue. Maybe Ananda saw, Ananda didn't say, blah, 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 like that. So I just want to say it's a very, very famous story. And of course, that story is not only about because the Buddha secretly left. He really run away. He doesn't want to deal with that problem. He thinks this, I told them already not to think that way. Try to understand with your loving kindness, they still don't want to think that. So the Buddha just left, okay. Why I want to say this to you, it's because I guess the Chinese always want to depict the Buddha. He could do everything successfully. So this is not a very good story for them, right? Demonstrate that the Buddha is the most powerful, like better than the God, like that, you know. In Chinese culture, it's always depicted that way. But if you look at the, I'm here, this is, I didn't invent it, okay? Don't put it on me. I said you go back to read the Buddhist text, they stay already, okay? Anyway, let's back to this. This kind of controversy after the Buddha passed away, it became actually really for the almost like, for the first time the Buddhist community started to split, okay? And so what are these things? Look at it. The 10 things. When you look at it now, you find very funny. But you have to imagine that people at that time, they think it's very serious. The first, on the page 2, I gave it to you, the notes, right? The 10 controversial points, okay? The first one is storing salt in the horn, right? Okay? You know why? Because in those days, salt is very expensive, okay? Salt, it's just like a kind of very expensive spice. In India, you know, they were not, there are lots of inland, especially when you look at the Buddha's land there, they are not close coastal-like. They are not along the sea coast, so that's why they don't have a salt. They need to import the salt inside. Even, you know, do you see a movie, I forgot the name, there was about the Nepal, even in some village in Nepal. Maybe now they don't, but definitely 20 years ago they still exist. The people really just working as just having a salt, right? Carry the salt to go by 2-3 days to sell the salt, to exchange something back in the village, right? That's how in those days that kind of life. But anyway, storing the salt in the horn, okay? Because in other words, just mean, you know, in those days, because I say salt is quite expensive to keep that salt in the horn. In the other words, why they want to think it's a big thing? It's not because just a price, the salt is expensive. It's think that these monks are not practiced well, because they want to have the food more tasty. They put some salt in on the food. Okay. And then the second one is eating after midday. Now, this eating after midday, at the time, at least a lot of explanation didn't mean that they eat after, you know, because according to the Buddhist rule, it was not, okay, that's I need to mention also. Actually, when the Buddha started to have the community, the Sangha, they didn't have the rule about not to eat after midday. Okay, 就是过午不食，其实一开始没有的. It didn't have that. It was only after some time that the Buddha said, because after when the lost incident came, okay, especially when the lots of monks, even in time, they go out for begging the food. And the lay people was feeling there's a burden. I'm giving you food in the afternoon. Now you're giving your food again. So how can I, if you have 2 months, fine. If you had 20, 30, 40, always coming around morning and dinner, you know. So then and also, very important in India, those so-called ascetic practices, they don't eat. They try to show I'm a good practitioner. They eat the less the better. Even Chinese now, like 屁股, that's like that. But not the, but the Buddhism definitely do not think that as a main thing. The main thing is your mental, your mind, right? So in any way, so because of that burden, and Buddha think it might be right. So that's why the rule is laid down that don't eat after midnight, because if you eat after midnight, mean the noon, afternoon. If you eat after the noon, so you easily get drowsy, and although say the monk don't have to work that much, so you are not allowed to eat that. Now here, when they say eating after midnight, actually they have a dispute not because they eat at night. It's because they had a dispute what to mean by the midnight. Midday, sorry, midnight. What the dispute is about what is mean by the midday, the noon. Some say, according to this liberal one say, as far as you start to have the food before so-called the midday or the 12 o'clock, now in those days there's no clock. You have to use the the sun to see the sundial, to sundial to see that, right? So that's why you have based on the shadow of the stick, then you see the shadow. Well, the regulation what we learn, the shadow is not more than 2 finger thick. That if that is more than 2 finger thick, but you got to be a fat people maybe to count them maybe better, But anyway, the more than 2 finger thick, so it's almost what we counted now 15, like 12, 15. We use the clock to say, so that you cannot do over that. Now the problem is that when you say you cannot do over that, when you start the food already, you don't count, right? Some say no. By that time, you definitely have to stop your food. So, and this kind of this, yeah.
Between 12 and 2 p.m.
No way. Definitely, it's you have to based on you have to understand it. In old days, based on the sundial, it's always it's said it very clear. It's about a 2 finger shadow.
So what translates to like present time?
That means that I'm talking about. So of course, it depends on the place, right? Somehow now the clock not necessarily working with the sundial now. I'm saying, if it understand the sundial mean 12 o'clock, right? So it means only up to 12:15.
12:15.
So that's why they usually start to eat like 10:30 or 11 o'clock, the latest. Yeah. But some people say it's 11:30. But generally, if you go for beginner food, usually you go 10:30. Nowadays, it's not very strict. As I'm saying that if you really had to follow what the old tradition really said, definitely you usually start the food by 11:30. That was the latest. Yeah.
So that is just because avoid to trouble others. That's why they study also there's some penalty or physically penalty or some whatever the practice for the meditation have certain penalty.
No, then.
Set a rule like that.
No, of course the Buddha. I want to say in earlier time. In the Sangha, they don't have that rule that you don't eat after midday, okay? It was just because some incident happens and that rule been laid down. After the rule laid down, of course, when the rule laid down, according to the Vinaya, according to the monastic code's explanation, there are many explanations. It's for your benefit, for your healthy, for your practice, for many, many things. But if you look at the Sutra explanation, the Buddha say that if you don't eat, you don't easily feel asleep, And you don't forget, in those days, the monks supposed to go to bed very early because they don't use light, right? So all based on the sunlight. So normally people go to bed, maybe now you look at the clock, it's maybe about 6 or 7 o'clock. So, or even if they are later, it will be 8 or 9 o'clock. Then they definitely 9 o'clock before they go to sleep. And they wake up 3 o'clock because when the sun about to arise, So that's a thing. Anyway, you have to think about the whole thing. If you really have to, usually if you don't eat at noon, then you definitely want to sleep early also. But maybe now change because of sun. But anyway, you have nothing to eat at all. I'm sure you will sleep early. Okay. So okay.
True story.
Huh?
True story.
Yeah, you definitely sleep early. So, and then of course, because you sleep early, and then you know you can eat it early morning, so you definitely wake up very early, right? But for the rule, actually, in those days, you know, they don't have a clock. The way to see whether you can start to eat is not because you see the sun arise. You have to see that the sun is enough for you to see the how to call the marks on your hand, the palms. Okay. Say that the sun is not clear enough to see the, then you also offend, you also breach the rule too. But I want to say the 10 controversial points here importantly. It's not saying that they eat at night. They were just saying they would have a very minor or very detailed discussion about what do you mean by not having eating after midday, right? So anyway. So, okay, and look at the other one. The other one is eating once and then going again to village for alms. You know, for example, you go for alms earlier, like 10 o'clock, and then you are not enough finishing your food, but still you have time. So you go other villages and ask for the food again, you know. So, because you are not against the rule, right? But they can have 2-round eating, right? After one place to another place, like while I was in Britain, the same thing, like after having a beer and go to other pub again, drinking, and another pub again. There was a time I went with them, and then I think that time we've been visiting maybe 7 pubs, I guess. They finish talking and talking and finish, and then they go to other pub to drink and another pub to drink. So anyway, so like that. So the fourth one is holding Uposatha ceremony with monks dwelling in the same locality. Okay, I mean this is a little complicated. I'm not going to explain it. Basically, there's a rule. Sometimes when you want to have this kind of monk stay together to recite the rules, okay, you cannot just say we only do ourselves. We don't want to, like, okay, you do your one, I do my one, you do your one, like that. Actually, now, of course, unfortunately, now Buddhism has become like that. But in in old days, not like this. If you're around, you need to gather together. You are not allowed to say, you do your, I do my. That is not the Buddhist rule. Okay? You know, that show you are not thinking the whole community, you are just thinking yourself. Right? Anyway, the fifth one, carrying out official acts when the assembly was incomplete. Okay, so basically mean, you know, let's say there was certain offense when people make, according to the rule, when you make the offense, let's say you sit next to the woman, that's fine. You sit next to the woman, if you don't talk to that woman, you have no anything interact with the woman, so you have offense already because you deliberately sit next to the woman. So, and it become a taboo in the society. Oh, look at the monk, he sit next to the woman. So, and then that thing, if you've been discovered or because you knew they were wrong, you need to declare that you did that wrong. That's called offense. But let's say the rule is that you just sitting to the woman, but there's no talking, nothing, no any action, no conversation even. So you offend the rule, but that rule you could be confessed, or you can be clear by just like talking to a monk, talking to one monk. Either the monk is senior or the junior monk, junior than you or senior than you. Fine. As why you said it out. Say, today I have offended a rule because of that and that. So if the monk say, I see it, you are fine. So then the rule is clear. That means you are clear, you know. But if you talk to the woman, and then that's another kind of rule. You have to only can talk to the senior monk, you cannot talk to the junior monk. Or if you touch the woman, then there's another thing. You cannot just talk to the senior monk. You have to talk to at least 4 senior monks and so forth. And like that, you know. Those are the articles that the monks learn. So here I just want to say, he also saying that they carry on certain things like assembly was incomplete, you know. Okay, I think I need to, eating the sour milk after one had his midday meal, you know, that's kind of like a yogurt, the curd bean, you know. Like in Thailand, for example, when I was in Thailand, those days when I just be a monk, you know, I was very strict too. You know, usually when you're a young monk, you're very strict. You know, everything is very serious. It has to be this and that, and I was surprised after midday. I was offered the 豆腐花, or what you call curd bean, something like a curd bean. If you don't know in Chinese, 豆腐花, So I said, but this is a solid thing, you know, like the tofu. Have you had it before? Tofu, of course you know what's a tofu, huh? So, and, but they say, yeah, because that you don't have to choose, you can take it. But that's definitely not in Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, you can eat that, you're offended. But anyway, country to country is different too. It's much to do with the culture. So, but anyway, that's something. But the last one actually is that's the most controversial one, of course, is using gold and silver. Okay, so those are the 10 points. All right. Now, yes.
I don't understand number 6.
Okay. I guess number 6 one, he was just saying that, you know, it's kind of like started to build up, you think that there's only one teacher is your teacher, the other is not your teacher, something like that. You know, somehow is basically mean they are just following one of the teacher's etiquette or whatever, the practice or the etiquette, but they don't, kind of like they refuse to think that the other teacher, they could learn from the other teachers too, you know, yeah.
That's different explanation for the Chinese. It's 随顺.
Yeah， 他就是说可以随顺和尚阿沙利之常习嘛，但是他这个是说这个是不对的嘛。
是不是依法不依人？
对，他的意思就是这样啊，对，
不了义，了义不了义，
是吧？嗯。Okay, any other question with that? So that was the first split. Okay. Now, because what we read is second, if you don't have question, we go the other one. The other one actually is funny, more funny. And the second one actually, the split, what is mentioned, the name called Mahadeva. Okay. Mahadeva. No, not Devadatta, Mahadeva. So that's why on the page third I put it called the Mahadeva. Anyway, there's a, so now, especially the infinite law, that actually it does in history influence between the views of the Mahayana and Shravakayana. Okay, Mahayana, you know, 就是大乘佛教 and 我不喜欢教小乘，所以我把它叫声闻乘 and then influence the other traditional Mahayana and Shravakayana. So because of that also actually when you look at the loss of history resource, this Devadatta, when he opposed this 5 things, there were so many different interpretations. The Mahayana thing, he's a great person. He's the one really put up what the idea of Mahayana. Some say that, but not all Mahayana say in that way. But some Mahayana think he's a great person. And some other Mahayana school different, think it differently. Say he's a bad monk. He's wrong. He's definitely misunderstood something. I'm biased a little bit, of course, too, because I have my own study way. I don't mean my sources are always correct, but I just put on the page 4 the other sources saying that who is this Mahadeva, because I prefer that, because I don't like this kind of idea. Okay. Anyway, I will say that later. But what are these 5 things happen? Well, there were 2 sayings. One said that after the Buddha passed away, after the 10 points, that 10 points thing settled, it's settled, but actually they start to split already. It's settled in a way. You know what I mean by that? You know, usually in any politics, the same thing, they settle, but they still actually disagree. They settle at least in the big, for the people to show, we okay now. You know?
We agree to our disagreement.
Yeah, we have to do it. So, and then just almost after 100 years, some say this is a time of Ashoka time, some say not, we don't know, okay? There's still a lot of research on that. But unfortunately, this all research all done in either in France, in Germany, in old day, or definitely in America, or in English, but no Chinese, okay? That's why I say Chinese study Buddhism is very different, okay? But some they do have Chinese because later they translate from them a little bit, Pali, and that's also one reason why I encourage you, if you want to study Buddhism, you definitely have to learn English. You will have many interesting stories there. Okay. All right, what are these 5 things? The thing is, Mahadeva is a funny person. It is said that, I just want to say one of the version, but it's very similar, all similar. So what happened is that one of the students, one day, as a disciple of the teacher, one of his job is to help the teacher to wash his robes, this kind of robes, right?
Okay.
Huh?
Keep going. I know that story now.
So one of I'll just show you the robes. So the robes, in our robes, sorry, because this I need to put this one. In our robes, we have 3 robes, but one robe usually we don't wear. We put it on the shoulder. That is usually a double size, double thick, because it's for colder weather. So you have double one and you put it on the shoulder. But now it's become a symbolic. So usually the Thai monk, they just put it there, But actually, the original version is the same one, but it's two line of it, because double, it's more heavy. Why you put it shoulder? Because according to rule, in those the monks meditate outside. So during when the darker, this kind of material in those is very expensive too, considered to be very rare. So some people stole it. That's why the rule is that after when getting dark, you need to put it on the shoulder. But now people follow it like a rule. But that was a reason, because you had to put there. You don't want, if you put it beside there, you meditate and then it's gone. You get upset also. My only thing gone, right? my only coat gone, So then the Buddha said, okay. Then when the dark coming down, you should put it on the shoulder. Those who doesn't follow that, you also commit the wrong thing, okay, like that. Everybody happy. Very funny, anyway. So other robe is this one that we usually robe. And then we have another one, usually what we call a tree robe, is what we wear like for people think we're wearing a skirt inside. Like a skirt, okay? We just roll it and cut it. The thing it is, so the disciple of the have to wash one of the famous monks believed to be Arahant. Like Arahant is almost like a Buddha, okay? And when he washed, and he found this internal one have stand, the man's emission, at night emission, stand. And he was wondering, how can have this stand happen? You are Arahant. You are complete cut off your thing. You cannot have those, things come from your organ, right? Something like that. So he asked the teacher, how come this, you are Arahant? Aren't you an Arahant? He said, yes, I'm Arahant. If you're Arahant, I was told that Arahant don't have the sexual idea at all. So this thing don't come up if you don't have sexual idea. But he said, no, it does, because even Arahant, even though in the normal day, he would not be enticed by sexual thing to have aroused by sexuality, but at night dreaming. So the goddess could come appear beautifully. and that sort of thing will come up anyway. So he said that's how it came out. Of course the student was baffled with that, and he said, okay, the teacher is Arahant, tell me that. So, and he, of course, I think that's the second thing. And the thing that later on, and he will hear him, not only that, at night he heard him say, oh, dukkha, dukkha, dukkha. Mean in suffering. Oh, suffering, suffering. It's believed that you're Arahant, you have no suffering, right? You are, but why you say suffering? And then he asked the teacher, I was overheard that midnight or some night, you shouting, kind of like saying, suffering, suffering. He said, oh, don't you know that to be Arahant, you need, to be anyone, you need to call out suffering, suffering, so you can attain a very advanced stage. So, and that actually sounds very normal thing, for people. Somehow, it looks like a very normal story, okay? But somehow they become a big thing, okay? Now, because of that, then so many dispute comes. Now, there are so many different sources have a different thing about that, but I want to say that accordingly, one of the sources which I like, but not necessarily Mahayana like it, okay, is actually, but that's all from Mahayana sources, not from the Pali. It's said that actually why why this Mahadeva is like that. He actually, even different sources say that very clear. Mahadeva as a monk, he is a bad monk. Okay, before he become a monk, he was like murder his mother for many reasons. But one source say he murdered his mother because he's having an affair with other householder. Like, you know, in India is a big thing. So when he having an affair with the other household, that means they have a husband, they have an affair with the other wife, you know. So the mother discovered was very angry, and he was out of anger. That Mahadeva killed his mom. Okay, then killed his mom because his mom was reproached with him. And then he thought, okay, fine, I will just, with this girl, we can run away, right? But unfortunately, this girl didn't want to go with him. So he was so disappointed. Then he became a monk. Yeah. After he became a monk, he became very educated and blah, 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 this. And of course, he must be very well learned and so forth. And then he thought he need to see the advisor of, he need to see the big monk who is the advisor of the King Ashoka. Upagupta. Actually, Upagupta is one of very famous monks. Anyway, there's another. Even that Upagupta, Yupo Jido in Chinese. Even there's a lot of legend story that Upagupta lived in China too. Okay, in old day before the Sida Minsan was become popular. He's a very famous figure. Because anyway, he's so famous, so he thought he wanted to see him in order to debate with him. You know, if he can win his debate, he will be very popular too. I mean, according to the story, said that. So he went in over to see the Upagupta. So of course, he must be very powerful too. He must be really have a way to convince a lot of students under him, I'm sure. So, and that's why he's been informed by Upagupta, a monk from the south. Okay. Actually, when here south doesn't mean the South India. When you look at the geography, it means the south of the Yamaka River. Anyway, one of the river. So Sat wanted to come to see you. So, and the Upagupta, because believed that he have a supernatural power, very powerful. That's why I say China is very famous about him, Yupo Jido. It's because even Burma is very funny. Burma also believe Upagupta was in Burma too. So you could see how popular he used to be. So, and then he knew that actually this is not a good monk. He's having trouble. In other words, indirectly, you know, in old days they don't say much, but just to tell a story, have a lot of imagination for yourself. But my understanding is just to show that he definitely is just trying to win, wanted to have a name and power and solve and things like that, you know. So that he refused to see him. He said, I don't want to see him. He must be famous. That's why it became a dispute among the Upagupta student also. Why my teacher suddenly become changed attitude? He always very kind. But why suddenly today he's not kind? He didn't want to see that. That's why I imagine he must be very popular. So even the Upagupta students know him, right? He must be like that. So, and then he will refuse to see him. So with that, he was very angry, of course, because he kind of like been humiliated, he thought. So, and then he went back to his place. And he also, at the same time, carried some of the Upagupta students with him also back to his place. Actually, this happened even in modern time. Not be surprised too. So he back to his day, and he started to say the story that created kind of story. That is mean, basically he want to, in other refer the Arahant is mean him, you know, kind of indirectly say he. These Arahant are not perfect. So he's not denying he's Arahant. It's not perfect. So you could read at that. But definitely later on, the Mahayana take this as some part of Mahayana, take this as a very important thing to think. You see, even in old days that happened. So the Arahant is not perfect. Arahant still having, when you look at this, like number 2, number 3, that means Arahant are still subject to ignorance, not defined ignorance, like the first link of the channel dependent origination, but undefined ignorance. Mean they still have ignorance, but not the ignorance of dependent origination. But because Arahant, definitely there's no ignorance of that. But so-called undefined ignorance. You know me, but what undefined ignorance, what's that mean? 就是小小的烦恼. So for example, they do not know, or they may not know the names and the clans of man and woman. So that's why they always subject to the doubt, because that leads them to have the doubt, okay? And then if the Arahant subject to the doubt, they can also doubt concerning the names and claims of a certain person, the path to follow, the names of the tree, and can be informed by others on the matter. It is even said that Sariputta and Moggallana did not realize they had attained Arahantship until the Buddha made a solemn declaration, okay, and something like that. So that's that sort of thing. But I mean, you have to look at this story, not only just that, you have to look at this incident came out in those days like huge thing. And then people started to question already. Yeah, I know people who's Arahant, but looks like the Arahant is not that perfect, I thought, right? And these kind of things, boom, explode. Okay. Okay. Actually, no, I don't know how to explain to you, but I definitely can relate to it. You know that how the human mind with this. Okay. Anyway, I don't want to say too much because they will be online. Okay, that was the second thing, and then that's you can go back and read a little bit about it. But it's just second thing is about the spirit. Is actually is because of that. Okay, we supposed to have break. Do you want to have a break, or we can finish it because we're almost finished the last one. Are you okay? Okay, if you just stay with that few minutes. The last one is the third one, which is what believed to be. You know, this is the first one the monk gathered together to discuss about the Buddhist text was after the Buddha passed away 3 months, right? That's how you had the Buddhist text. And then after almost 100 years, 150 years, and then you have the 10 points controversial, and then you start to have this spirit already among the Sangha, the community, the audience community, you could say, okay, spirit. And then then later is more like a kind of, it's also kind of contact about the contract. That's why he used the term orthopraxy rather than this, what is orthodoxy, right? Because one is not about the faith, it's more about the conduct, you know, the ethical issue. So that's why it's it comes with that kind of, other than there were so many split out already. Some agree with the monk, the Arahant is not perfect. Some disagree with the Arahant. You could not claim the Arahant is not perfect. Or some disagree with this kind of story, some agree with that story. This, you know, comes up, you know. And then the next point is comes up some traditions said there was a third council. That means council means the meeting together, right? Like officially recognized, they meet together, discuss something important. They want to unite it. So the other one is some recognize as a fourth one because they count the Buddha passed away as the first one. If you count the 10 points as the second one, and then you count this because of the Devadatta's 5 prepositions as a third one, then the fourth one was more like the country, like Asoka actually. He found that so many monks had different idea about how to become liberation, and even have different contact. So according to that, but this is purely Pali. The Pali understand that because of that, so they invite one of the most famous monk in those days called Moggallana Buddhadisa, the name. Okay, so to become a judge. Who is actually more orthodox, who is not more orthodox, right there. So basically the question is asked when they met the monk, what is the Buddha's teaching? Okay. If you answer, the Buddha always give analyzed teachings, then you'll be accepted as the orthodox monk. That means you'll be accepted as the good monk or the so-called the good monk. But you know, to remember the story, you cannot expel the monk unless they have offended the 5 things, right? Get it now? So but that's why they ask this question. And if the other monks say, oh, if the Buddha was just speaking the only one truth, then you will be expelled. But here the expelled doesn't mean that you'll be excommunicated from the monkhood, just to be expelled, kind of like not be recognized well by Asoka king. Okay. Get it now? So kind of like a country have to, okay, I want to decide. There are so many ideas. Which group will be my advisor, like that, you know. So you have something like that. So, of course, this is from Pali sources. They will say that they are the best. So we don't know. So the Pali will say, the Moggallana is saying that if the answer is a Vibhajavadi, mean the Buddha analyze it, then you are correct. So because of Pali Buddhism believe that they are the school from the Vibhajavadi. Okay, they are the school from analyzed school. Okay, get it now. Another school, for example, like Sarasvatiwada school, they believe that when you talk about the Buddhist truth, there's only one truth, that is the Four Noble Truths. Okay, but to the Vibhajavadi, they will think that when you think about the Buddha's teaching, you have to think about the analyzed teaching. What does it mean by the analyzed teaching? That is the dependent origination. Okay. Maybe to you it's a very minor thing, you don't know what it is. But it doesn't make a little huge impact, I can imagine. But anyway, I just want to say, so according to, this is just only the Pali source to say. So that's why then, that's the first, you could say very clear, because, you know, the Pali source also thinking that Asoka, of course, is one of the greatest king in the Indian history. So in other words, he just want to say, he actually is the support of the analyzed school, and we are the analyzed school. Okay. Okay. That's how you start to know in history, before going to the text, the Buddhist text, like the Abhidhamma text, before going there, then you know those incidents happened. Okay. All right. I think I talked too much. Any questions? Anything you want to comment?
Yeah, my question is,
yeah.
is the so-called the sutra,
Mm-hmm.
including the well-known, the Chinese well-known sutra, like the Diamond Sutra, is also included in that sutra? Or
No.
it's different? No.
Diamond Sutra is not included in the Agama.
Okay, then the Leng Yan Jing or Miaofa Lianhua Jing is nothing to do with the...
Not the Agama.
Okay, got you.
They will belong to the Chinese understanding, they will belong to the Mahayana Sutra.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the Diamond Sutra is not clear, actually Diamond Sutra doesn't mean the Mahayana. But in Chinese, usually like to accept that as the Mahayana collection.
Okay. So that actually is more original in earlier stage of the Buddha.
If you look at the Agama, definitely there's no dispute for scholar.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's much earlier. And
Yeah.
some people even think that some sutra, the Chinese sutra, is probably the fake one or the false one.
No, that's why there has a lot of discussion about that. How do you think that was the... Now, there was a thing. There were few of the opinion. One opinion saying that you can... One opinion thing, because then the Chinese or even Mahayana, especially representing the Chinese, I forgot where, they do have certain master in old day. I mean, when I say old day, I mean during 6th century, 7th century. They have written something to say that, you know, how do we understand this, the Mahayana, sutra? It's actually the Buddha did speak Mahayana Sutra to the Devas, to the heavenly being. And the normal people, and those bodhisattva, because the bodhisattva, most of them are the heavenly being already. So they are the one actually kept it. Okay. And the other, which is still not that profound, so they don't. This is one way of explaining it. And the other way of explaining more like a recent way, because in the recent, we do have the research methodology already, that definitely nobody can deny. Even in old day, they have all these sources, they agree with that. The Buddha have this history and so forth and that, even though you could say this is just a Buddha show off, but the show off even is a true thing, you know. And this thing happened, and they agree that the Buddhism can have a different phases of the text. That means the early Buddhist text, then you have the early Mahayana text, and then you have the so-called Mahayana kind of like, ripened Mahayana text, and then you have this latest Mahayana text, like Tibetan is believed to be the latest. And the ripen is like you say, mostly like a Lotus Sutra, and the Avadhamma Sutra, Huayan Jin, and so forth. And then you have the early Mahayana texts. There are a lot of early Mahayana texts. Usually Chinese nowadays, they don't read it, but I think they are very important. because they are between the Agama and then the early Mahayana, the Mahayana text, so like that. Those are all in Chinese. So the only difference is if you believe that the actually text can be evolved in the different periods of time, and how do you take these kind of texts? Then that's why there's a lot of research also, lots of discussion, and lots of defending, arguing. Mostly something like that. It's like they would think, yes, the text will evolve in a later time, but these texts evolved by a later time. They're all from a Greek master. And all these Greek masters, they also know Agama very well. But that's for sure, they know Agama. So they were just wanted to show that the Buddha right intention is not completely, cannot be represented by Arahant only. Because Arahant is limited to understand Agama in such a way. Look at the Diamond Sutra, for example. I'll give you one example. To Mahayana understanding. They think, like Diamond Sutra say, Lu Hua Yi Zhe, for example, that were actually from Agama. That is from Agama. But he wanted to tell that interpretation from the Agama way, or so-called the Shravakayana way, the Shen Wen Chen, so not completely represent the original intention of Buddha. The Buddha intention was about emptiness from Agama. So like Yogacara Bhumi, Yiche Siddhi, for example, so there was they have a five section. The second section is all about Agama, but they just reinterpreted what the Agama trying to tell you. Not necessarily that doesn't cover the whole picture. They're more than that. So something like that. So even the Ren Yanjing, Ren Qie not Ren Yanjing, Ren Qie like it's also same. They also quote from Agama. Anyway, most of the Mahayana texts are quote from Agama. They were just trying to say they have a better understand what the Buddha definitely wanted to say. So that's a way to prove that. In order to, by that, Fosa Yin now is one of the person and one of the monk. So they want to defend that actually, even though it's, let's say, even Nagarjuna's Madhyamika Karika, 就是中论嘛, 龙树菩萨中论, so and so forth. And those texts being presented by the Greek master, actually they all learn from the Buddhas, and then they grasp better essence of what the Buddha trying to get. So you should consider that actually is still the teaching of the Buddha. But that this opinion for very, very conservative people or scholar even, they don't like it. Okay, because when I was in China, once we have this kind of like a conference. We didn't talk about that because I don't want to talk that. If I talk that, people, No, I mean, I didn't talk at that time on the table. But he mentioned some monk. How can that monk, 就是他指印了, how can the monk mention these texts are being evolved? The Mahayana is always there, something like that. So I know, wow, but you're a scholar, but you could put out your opinion, but you should not. You could tell why it's always there and how. You cannot just say it's always there. So when he mentioned that, our Mahayana is completely gone. But that is the different way of looking at some other text. Okay, for the record reason also, don't. I just want to put up what the scholar opinions. Don't put that this is Dhammadipa thing. It's very, very dangerous. Very dangerous, and they don't want to listen to the whole thing. Just one line. Yeah, no, I was just presenting what I know, the scholarly, or even like nowadays, the modern researchers understand the text, okay, and they'll have different opinions. Of course, I don't have time to talk about everything, but then at least some of the opinions like that, what I just mentioned. Okay, any other questions? No? We still have about 5 minutes.
很精彩啊.
No, I'm just like a talk show, something like just like a talk show. And no, I think why because I think I guess that's what the rest you can go back to read it, because we need to go on the Mahayana Sutra. Oh, there's a Mahayana Sutra later.
Yeah, that's right.
But I don't know what did he mention already. I don't. Anyway, what I hope that next class we will just go through a little bit, since the Mahayana is very important for Chinese, especially we're to go through here, And then if you have questions, please ask what we left, okay? And then we hope that after going to Mahayana Sutra, then we at least have the 1 hour, and usually we have 2 hours here, and then we start to have to read the Four Truths, which is the essence of Buddhist teachings. Start from page 59 for the next class. So at least we should finish the first truth. I mean, I don't think we can finish, but we can at least go through, presumably if you have time, please read until page 68. But I know that maybe next class we can be just finished by 62 or 63, okay. If you have time to do 68. But of course, if you don't have time, you just come in and just drop in and just listen. And we still have a few minutes if you'd like to ask any question. So, yes.
Just a follow-up from earlier, I remember reading a story about like Long Shu Pusa.
Yeah.
Like he went to like the Dragon Palace and like saw a bunch of sutras and whatnot, and he like took one back. Like I always didn't understand. Like it seems like in the Agama they wrote down basically everything the Buddha's ever said. So like, where do these other sutras come? Like, and Buddha passed away. Like he, isn't coming back anymore. So it's not like he's teaching somewhere. I don't know. Maybe he is, but like, so where do these like?
No, that's right. Because of like you just say, one of the things that some of the Buddhist texts Mahayana texts were discovered by the Nagarjuna, right? Longsuju Nagarjuna, by Nagarjuna, and because he visited the sea, the underworld. So underworld. Anyway, that's a movie. The sea, right? On the ground, and they see the dragon, Dragon King. So the Dragon King actually, they are also kind of like divine being there. So they have listened to the Buddhist text, the Buddha address of Mahayana, so they kept the text. Until the normal person like Nagarjuna, when they say normal, mean not a divine being, they could not just only using the naked eye, but they could use much more powerful the spiritual practices, and they could achieve that. And then it's believed this is how the Mahayana, one of the explanation, even in old days during the Mahayana, when the Mahayana Buddhism arise, is that how does that come? It actually came from not from the normal sense, like you just say. The normal sense is like the Arahant, they were doing that. But these are actually by the divine beings, they kept it. During the Buddha's time, they've been taught by the Buddha. Because, and state later on in a certain Mahayana, like in Chinese school, they explain this, but that is not in Tibetan school. Tibetan don't explain that way. But in the Chinese, some that is explained, not that the Buddha didn't want to explain to the Arahant about this Mahayana text, it's because they didn't understand. So that's why the most famous is represented by the Lotus Sutra, But they are still like the Shravaka, even though they are fully enlightened, they were enlightened, they cut off the reincarnation, but their wisdom are still limited. They can practice, they have a different wisdom. The wisdom means everything is gone, but still kind of like knowledge is still not good enough to absorb some other thing. So.
I thought Arahant is better than becoming gods, which is what
it is.
Divine beings are.
It is, yeah, according to Buddhism, yes.
So how is it that these gods can understand what Buddha was saying, but the Arahants don't?
But this is actually, you are having the position of the Stravakayana. And Stravakayana also did say that. So if you say so, not only you say better than the gods, but it's also better than the one of the Buddha's disciple is called Sariputra, right? Believe he's a second to the Buddha in terms of wisdom. If you couldn't understand, how do you presume you are not like him also that you could understand? That's what. And then if there's a debate between in the future, we can have a debate. You are in the standpoint of Mahayana, you are in the standpoint of Shravakayana. So you could just argue that and see how they answer you. Actually, they didn't have an answer so far, I hope that they do. They will have no answer with that. They were just saying that, well, I don't know. But, okay, that's... this is why I like, actually, when you study Buddhism, not really like doctrinal way of telling you. It's more giving something about historical background. Actually, they are also giving a lot of teachings there. And you need to think about something, I think that's what the purpose of, definitely I believe that when you study Buddhism, Buddhism believes in the wisdom also. And now, whether you belong to the school of one truth or belong to the school of analyze, but that doesn't mean the one truth school don't agree with the analyze. They don't take that as the most important only. They think one thing is more important than the other. But I want to say is that definitely Buddhism belief in the wisdom is very important, and then I guess, and also the what we call the openness. So you definitely have to open your mind, During the Buddha's time, actually, the Buddha facing a lot of challenge from people believing in the creator God, from people believing in they can meditate and they go to the heavens, and they could do this, and they blah blah blah. They attend Nibbana, and there are so many different ideas about Nirvana. The Buddha also, if you look at the Agama, they have mostly deal with that the life when he was in that time, 45 years. So what kind of person met him? Some are politicians, some are really like low-educated people, and then some are very, very famous, educated, very rich, almost like everybody knows them because the whole family have a good education and money and everything. So he met these people and asked him a lot of questions. And you could see the Buddha not having disagree. But definitely Buddha put away his idea, given his idea. He's not going to say, okay. Basically, I want to say the discussion is always allowed, I guess. And this is what I always think when you study Buddhism is a very important approach, especially if you say you're Mahayana, because you're supposed to have greater mind and then bigger mind. And then if you have bigger mind, definitely you should be allowed more discussion, right? So, okay. Anyway, I hope that you'll find the class is useful anyway, right? Please, go back and read a little bit, and if you have questions also, you could write an email to us as well, right? For your information, if you want to look for my web page, you can ask them, but I can just say now middle-way-way.org. And you could find our previous classes as well, okay? And thanks for coming, and also have a very happy New Year. I do bring some chocolate. So I thought we can have it in the meantime. We can have it now, actually. Happy New Year, anyway. I hope that you have a very meaningful and very nice New Year. Okay. I don't know when is our next class, but
February 2nd.
Wow, what? Yeah, because I will be away actually. Tomorrow I'm going to Massachusetts to teach meditation, right? So, yeah. Anyone here is going to want to? I see. Okay. We are going to do the meditation in a Thai temple, I think. Yeah. All right. Okay. So thank you. Anyway, have some chocolate.